bisexual. No matter what year it was, it could have been 2004, 2005, 2006. No matter what year it was always 1975 to my stepdad. And that was always weird growing up, because during the holidays he would play old songs that people don't even know existed anymore. And it's just, it will always be embarrassing, I guess, for friends and such. And it's not really I have a problem with the 70s or that time era. I respect it. I think it would have been a cool time to live in. But my perspective is, if you could point out one bad thing about a year, then that year is not worth going through again. You know, like I have friends that come up to me, or I'll talk to them on Facebook, and they'll be like, hey man, friends I graduated with, and they'll be like, hey man, I really miss, senior year of high school, all the crazy stuff we used to do back in 2008, man. If I could go back to that year, I totally would. And I'm just like, shit, man. Gas was $4 in 2008. I would never go back to that shit. Another thing I learned too, I learned this while masturbating actually. But when you masturbate, I was masturbating, and one day I was watching the porn, and it was pretty good, it was fun and everything like that. And as I started to come, the chick in the porn started making this weird noise in a super deep voice. She was just like, oh yeah, baby. And I kind of started laughing, and I came and I laughed at the same time. And that day I learned that if you come and laugh at the same time, 2 tears will fall down your face, and you will unwillingly cry. And that's just what I learned pretty much. Masturbating. I learned that like Tuesday, I guess. Yesterday. I get my days confused. But anyway, it was weird growing up as a child when I found out that the tooth fairy was fake. Because every time I lost a tooth, my mom, I would let her know, like, hey mom, I lost a tooth. And she'd be like, oh, we'll put it on the pillow on the tooth fairy, put, somebody underneath it for you. And I'd be like, okay, cool. So I'll put the tooth underneath the pillow, and I'll wake up the next day, and I'll have $1 underneath my pillow, and it's just, typical shit. And so one day I went to go visit my grandma in Miami, Florida, and I lost a tooth while I was visiting my grandma. And she found out about it. She was like, oh, put the tooth under your pillow, and tooth fairy will leave you something. So I was like, okay, cool, grandma. And I put the tooth under the pillow. And when I woke up the next day, I looked under the pillow, and there was a $20 bill sitting on the mattress. And I was completely confused, because I'm thinking, like, did the tooth fairy get like her income tax or some shit like that? I was very economically aware at 7 years old, by the way. But I was confused by it. So I go downstairs, and I'm, going downstairs to get breakfast, and my grandma's like, you want some orange juice? And I fucking love orange juice as a 7-year-old. So of course I went and got some orange juice. And as I was getting some orange juice, I saw the tooth sitting on the counter. Oh shit. So I was like, holy. I didn't know what to think as a 7-year-old. I was just kind of confused. So I knew it was my tooth. I remember what it looked like. I grabbed the tooth and put it in my pocket. And later that night, I put it under my pillow. And I go to sleep. I'm like, I'm going to find out about this tooth fairy chick. And there in the middle of the night, actually, while I was asleep, my grandma woke me up. And I was half asleep. I wasn't there. So she's like, hey, I think I left something in here. Just can you raise it for a little bit? And I was sleeping, and I raised up a little bit. And she just reached under my pillow and grabbed some. I just went back to sleep. I didn't think anything of it. I woke up the next day, look under the pillow, and the tooth is gone, nothing is there. And I'm just thinking, oh shit, I really pissed the tooth fairy off. This is really, really bad. So I went to grandma crying, like, I think the tooth fairy's mad, I lied to her, I committed fraud, it was horrible. I knew what fraud was at 7, by the way. But I was like, I don't know what to do. And she just, at that point, she just was like, oh, I just made a mistake, I woke up in the middle of the night. My grandma was very honest. So she just pretty much told me what it was. And at that point, I was very aware that the tooth fairy was, in fact, just my grandparent and my mom. And then I found out that my grandma was actually full of shit. She was just really good at hiding it. I guess overall, like, I appreciate life, and the thing I appreciate about life is the different phases you go through in life. Like in your teenage year, you kind of go through your little rebel stage, like you start to tell your mom, like, no, I don't want to, and she just kind of has to deal with it when you're a teenager. But one thing I really appreciate the most is when you're a child, because when you're a child, you could pretty much get in touch with your gangster side, and you don't. It's just cute at that age. So, like when I was a child, I used to go to the store with my mom, and every time I went to the store with my mom, I would go to the aisle, the toy aisle, because if there was a toy aisle in the store, I was gonna go to it no matter what. And I would go to the toy aisle, and I would pick a toy that I just knew my mom was gonna buy for me. I didn't ask for it. I was a gangster as a child. And so I would just, instead of asking for the toy, I would just sit the toy on top of the scanner belt, and the cashier would scan the toy, and my mom would just look at me and think, there's nothing of it. But one day she looked at me, and the toy was scanned, and she just looked at me kind of weird, and she was like, no, $13.95, no, you're not getting that toy. And I was like, what's wrong, Mom? Did you get laid off today or something like that? And she just kind of looked at me. She was like, no, I'm not wasting money any more bullshit anymore. She told me bullshit when I was 7. I really learned the real world when I was 7. But I'm not spending any more money on that bullshit. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I went to school the next day. I went to the principal's office, and I was like, hey, we need to talk. My mom said she doesn't want to spend any more money on bullshit, so I will be needing a reduced price lunch. My name is Nick Rivers. That's my time for tonight.